I heard a booming sound. Is this really the spirit zone? It's like I've been separated into tiny pieces and spread far and wide around the world. I myself have become the world. As Sharon was instructed to enter the spirit zone, a flood of new and unfamiliar sensations overwhelmed him. These intense feelings were the reason for his silence when the students mocked him for mentioning sound. Unbeknownst to them, and even Headmaster Milch Alpaeus, Sharon possessed the ability to enter the spirit zone, albeit with a limited range. However, in that fleeting moment, the scope of Sharon's perception expanded to infinity, far beyond anyone's expectations. The profound depth of his experience remained a secret, locked within Sharon's being. Overwhelmed by the inexplicable encounter, tears streamed down Sharon's face uncontrollably. The magnitude of his experience left him at a loss for words, able to express only the sensation of sound. Wiping away his tears with trembling hands, he ran back without paying attention to his surroundings. A profound realization washed over him. The endless vastness made me shudder. It was just for a moment, but I broke away from my physical and I became infinity. A whirlwind of emotions engulfed him, blending happiness and confusion into a captivating mix within Sharon's being. While in the midst of running, Sharon accidentally collided with a passerby and lost his balance, tumbling to the ground. As he quickly composed himself, Sharon mustered a polite apology to the person he had bumped into, sorry. However, much to his surprise, a group of people fixated their disapproving gazes upon him. The individual he collided with sneered and asked, "Who do you think you are?" He then grabbed Sharon by the collar, his face contorted with anger. "Have you gone nuts? You need to pay the price for hitting me, right?" he bellowed. Despite Sharon's repeated apologies, the man saw an opportunity in Sharon's vulnerable state. "Who cares if you're sorry? You're a member of the Wolf Gang, aren't you? You came here to kill me, didn't you?" Sharon was utterly confused by the man's unfounded accusations. Just then, a voice interrupted the tense situation. "What are you guys doing? Did something fun happen?" The individual who was tormenting Sharon turned and exclaimed, "Lady Amy!" It was apparent that the arrival of Lady Amy commanded respect. She questioned the group, asking, "What are you doing here? Are you bored again?" As Sharon heard the guy refer to the girl as Lady Amy, a thought quickly crossed his mind. I need to beg her to save me. Hoping that Lady Amy would intervene and put an end to the situation, Sharon looked closely at Lady Amy, and it became evident by her clothing and overall appearance that she belonged to the noble class. In this world, attire and appearance often served as indicators of a person's social status. This realization solidified Sharon's understanding that Lady Amy was of privileged status. The individual maintained his grip on Sharon's collar and accused him while addressing Lady Amy. "This punk tried to kill me. I was going to teach him a lesson." Sharon, with desperation in his voice, interjected, "That's not true. I accidentally bumped into him." His words were tinged with a mix of fear and urgency, as he realized his fate rested on Lady Amy's judgment. The tension in the air was palpable, awaiting Lady Amy's response that could either save Sharon from further harm or condemn him to an unjust punishment. But in a sudden turn of events, the other guy who had been standing beside Sharon seized the opportunity to launch a surprise attack. He charged at Sharon and delivered a forceful knee strike to his side, targeting his ribs. The impact was brutal, making Sharon gasp in pain and collapse to the ground. The pain coursing through his body caused uncontrollable tremors, and every breath he took intensified the discomfort. The assault left him winded, and in agonizing discomfort, his body racked with both physical and emotional pain. While Sharon remained on the ground, the group of guys closed in around him, their intentions menacing. One of them taunted, "You need to pay the price, punk. Where did your mother go?" Sharon was taken aback by the mention of his mother, an innocent party in this situation. The guy persisted, "Your good-for-nothing mother who gave birth to a punk like you, bring her over here." As Sharon heard these hurtful words, anger welled up inside him, and he shot the guy a stern and serious glare. Well, look what we have here," one of the guys taunted, his gaze fixed on Sharon as he spoke. "Seems like the look in his eyes has changed. Did I hurt your feelings?" The rest of the gang burst into laughter, relishing in the discomfort they had caused. But Sharon remained silent, his eyes locked onto the instigator, his expression unwavering. He refused to let their mockery and insults break his resolve. But instead of deterring them, Sharon's unwavering expression seemed to fuel their anger even more. Suddenly, a kick came out of nowhere, striking Sharon's head with force. Pain shot through him as he fell to the ground, helpless against the onslaught. The gang members continued their merciless assault, their kicks landing all over his body. One of them sneered, "You arrogant son of a bitch! Just try that one more time, got it?" The violence escalated, but amidst the chaos, one of the gang members warned the others, careful not to leave any visible bruises on his face. Their sinister motive became evident. They planned to sell Sharon as a slave, and an unblemished appearance would fetch a higher price in the market. Amy interjected, her voice firm and commanding. Stop it! You're going to kill the kid." She moved closer to Sharon and asked with genuine concern, "Are you okay?" Sharon's voice trembled as he replied, tears streaming down his face. "I didn't do anything." He turned his head towards Amy, hoping for her support and protection. However, to his astonishment, Amy remained unfazed by his pitiful state. Instead, she turned to the gang and nonchalantly suggested, "All right, let's put an end to this. Isn't there something more fun we can do?" Sharon couldn't believe what he was hearing. His savior, the person he had hoped would rescue him, was now suggesting something even more sinister. Amy continued, callously revealing her true intentions. "I was thinking of shaking him up and then selling him to the southern village. Since he's a commoner, there will be no backlash." Shock washed over Sharon as he realized the truth. The person he had trusted to save him had turned out to be his worst nightmare. Amy maintained her gaze on Sharon and uttered with a suggestive tone, "To be a slave, he can't have any possessions, right?" She feigned a blush on her face and said, "How about we confirm that?" Her intentions becoming increasingly disturbing. The gang members accompanying her burst into laughter, joining in on the cruel spectacle. One of them jeered, "Shall we do a full-body inspection? Hey, the girl told you to strip down." Sharon was overwhelmed with shock and despair. It felt as though his world was collapsing around him. The same guy continued threateningly, "Do you want to get hit again?" Amy, however, never intended for Sharon to be stripped down. She had naively thought that merely looking at his face would be the extent of it. But in her ignorance, she had triggered a series of events that were spiraling out of control. Her ill-conceived words, uttered in the presence of a violent gang, had set in motion a horrifying ordeal for Sharon. After observing Sharon's face, Amy had a sudden realization. Come to think of it, what's up with him? I was just planning to torment him a little and then let him go. He hasn't gone insane, has he? Meanwhile, the gang members were laughing uproariously, their mouths wide open in amusement. But in that moment, time seemed to freeze, and Sharon found himself wondering, what's happening? As he looked around, fragments of memories flashed before his eyes, including one of Headmaster Milch Alpice showing him wind magic. Then, just as suddenly, everything returned to normal. However, one of the gang members shouted directly in Sharon's face, "This punk! Have you gone deaf? Are you ignoring me?" Gripping Sharon by the collar. But Sharon remained unresponsive, lost in his thoughts. Amy, realizing that something was wrong, desperately shouted to the guy, "Just a second, wait!" But it was too late. Sharon, in a state of desperation, instinctively mimicked the wind magic he had witnessed in his memory of Headmaster Milch Alpice. A powerful gust of wind erupted, propelling all the gang members, including Amy, high up into the air. As Sharon snapped back to his senses, he witnessed the gang members falling from the sky, their screams filling the air. Shocked by what he had unintentionally done, Sharon watched in horror as the gang members writhed on the ground, their limbs broken and their screams filled with agony. But just then, Amy landed in front of Sharon, her voice filled with anger and disbelief. "Hey, you! Who the hell are you? Where did you learn magic? How could a commoner—" However, before she could finish her sentence, she noticed the gathering crowd and the commotion that was attracting attention. Sharon remained silent, tears streaming down his face as he was overwhelmed by the shock of what had transpired. As more people started to gather, a voice could be heard saying, "Over there! There was some kind of loud sound." Upon hearing this, Amy swiftly made her escape by leaping onto the rooftops and disappearing from sight. Sharon was left stunned, unable to comprehend how she could perform such a feat. Meanwhile, at the other end of the alleyway, Bystanders had noticed the injured gang members lying on the ground. Someone exclaimed, "Someone has collapsed over here." Sharon glanced back at the scene, witnessing the gang members writhing in pain. Understanding that he wouldn't be able to explain himself or have his voice heard amidst the chaos, Sharon swiftly made the decision to flee. As he ran, his mind was consumed by thoughts of the unforgiving nature of the world around him. Meanwhile, at the Kareem's noble household, Amy's voice echoed through the halls as she exclaimed, "Damn! I can't believe I was bested by that brat." Inside the house, her father, while sipping tea and reading a newspaper, responded, "You're home early today." He continued, "Did you skip class and wander around again, Amy?" Feeling the pain in her shoulder, Amy replied, "I've learned everything there is to learn, and it's no fun." Her father let out a sigh and said, "When will you grow up? Even though you are a genius, if you stay complacent, you could get taken by surprise one day." Hearing her father's words, Amy felt a stirring within her, acknowledging the truth in what he said. On the other side, Amy's father couldn't help but notice her uncharacteristic silence. Usually she would retort, "Who are you to say that? You're unemployed, Dad." However, this time, Amy turned to her father and said, "Dad, magic." Surprised, her father responded, "What? All of a sudden?" Amy persisted, "If you know someone at the magic school, please introduce them to me." And that wraps up the third chapter of Infinite Mage. Thank you all for watching until the end and being a part of this incredible journey. Your support means the world to me. I encourage you to leave your feedback and thoughts in the comments section below. I value your input and look forward to hearing your insights. Stay tuned for the next installment of Infinite Mage, and until then, keep the magic alive. Thank you, and see you in the next video.